Welcome back to the writing course video series. This week, the topic of our discussion will be on exposition text type. What is exposition text? Expositions are persuasive text types that argue a case by presenting one side of an argument. So, exposition is a kind of persuasive text which purpose is to persuade the readers, to convince them, to think and act in a certain way as written by the writer. There are generally two types of exposition: analytical exposition and hortatory exposition. Analytical exposition is a text to persuade the reader to think in a certain way by accepting a theory or position. Meanwhile, hortatory exposition is a text to persuade the reader to act in a certain way, mainly to get things done. So, the difference between the two types is that the first on thinking, while the second on acting. And today's presentation will focus only on analytical exposition. Now let's see elements of the text as usual, which covers social purpose, structure, and language features. First, on purpose. The purpose of analytical exposition is to persuade the reader to think in a certain way by accepting a theory or position. So, the text contains the idea of the writer by taking a particular position in which the readers are expected to be convinced, to think the same way, and further to follow the ideas. The next element is the structure of the text. An exposition will basically have the following structure: background, or in other sources it is called as orientation. It is a kind of introduction to the issue being talking about in the whole text. But this stage is not obligatory, as some exposition text doesn't have this initial stage and jump to the next. It is statement of position or thesis. In this stage, the writer puts forward his or her idea and takes certain position. This stage contains the topic that the text wants to convince the reader. And then the next stage is series of argument, that can have some specific arguments, argument 1, argument 2, and so on, to support the writer's position. And the last is reinforcement of position. This stage is to reaffirm the writer's point of view after presenting the argument. The next element of text type is a language features of the text. And here are the features. Various verbs are used, mainly action and relational verbs. In the example text, we can find some action verbs such as interact, use, invent, and so on. Another verb frequently used is relational verbs of relations to identify phenomena, to present reasons and to explain causes and consequences. These verbs are realized mainly in the forms of linking verbs such as to be, remain, become, seem, and so on. And then, it is mentioned here general, abstract, technical participants as evidence. Participants here are nouns in subject, object, or complement. They are general, abstract, and technical participant because exposition talks about certain issues which are technical and general, for example global warming, technology and other general fields. Other language features are the use simple and complex sentence, logical connection of cause and effect, such as a result, consequently, therefore, and other connections. Some specific vocabularies are also used indicating evaluation, personal view, and so on. Those are the linguistic features of exposition. Now, let's move to discuss one example of exposition text. The text title is, "Are Books Better Than Television?" In this text we will see that the writer takes one position on the issue. This text also follows all stages in exposition, starting from background, statement of position, argument 1, 2, 3, and the last is reinforcement of position. In the background, the writer presents general statement of the issue, on book and television in equal portion, not yet taking position. Then, it is in the second stage of statement of position that the writer takes one side on book side. In the following 3 paragraphs, the writer presents arguments to support his position, that books are better than television. The last stage, which is also the conclusion, contains reaffirmation of the writer's view or position that books are better than television. That's the end of current presentation on exposition. See you again in the next video of different topics.